Last time on Dragon Ball Z. Last time on Story You Never Knew. A world without borders, where soldiers are free to choose their own will. The boss was a decorated soldier, and so her words in life carry heavy weight among those still with us. But as a set of musings that are open to interpretation, they could be used to justify any level of greed by some of the world's most powerful people. Big Boss was her closest apprentice. Will he interpret the boss's legacy correctly and help create a perfect world? Or will his crushing regret over killing his beloved mentor steer him towards the opposite in this increasingly violent world? Also, what's with that cigar? It's gotta mean something! For the next 6 years after Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake wanders the world, still coping with the events that transpired. But now we're on to Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, so maybe he'll bucker up. Gene, the evil man of the hour/game, speaks to Snake about the purpose of soldiers, with a disturbing twist on the boss's ideology.
Open your eyes, Snake. This is our calling. It's all part of a greater mission. Compared to this calling, the individual wills of individual soldiers are meaningless. Those who have no calling must be given one by those who do. They must follow the teachings of those with a greater will.
And this villain's speech doesn't stop there. After Snake defeats him, Gene pronounces Jack to be the true successor of the boss, telling Snake to be loyal to himself and find his own calling. Curious indeed. Next is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. The year is 1974. A man named Hot Coldman builds a 4-legged mech called Peace Walker that has an AI based off the boss's personality, can fire warheads, and can send false data to nuclear detection systems, prompting a nuclear retaliation from the duped country. Coldman succeeds in tricking America into believing they're under attack, but the boss within the machine brings it to life and drowns it in a nearby lake, thus halting the signal that would prompt America to retaliate. And look, peace signs! The elusive legacy of the boss continues its reign over some of the world's most powerful people, yet not a single one could agree on what her legacy is. Each time, the will of the boss has been exploited to justify plans for world war. Each crazy villain more sure of their interpretation on the boss's will than the last. Yet when we look at the boss's actions, she actively avoided war at all costs. First by letting herself die a traitor to keep peace between America and Russia, and then by awakening Peace Walker just long enough to destroy it before nuclear war broke out. Although the Joy couldn't put her desires into words, her actions imply that conflict had nothing to do with them. Naked Snake has been the greatest weapon against these evils, but after witnessing these atrocities time and time again, and chronically being beaten down by guilt, how long before Snake succumbs to the hate that surrounds him? How long before he fights to carry on a grotesque version of the boss's legacy? Perhaps not long. After the nuclear crisis is averted, we hear a conversation between Snake and a close friend of his.
In giving up her life, she abandoned everything she was as a soldier.
And you consider that betrayal?
I won't make the same choice as her. My future is going to be different.
Then?
Yeah, that's right. From now on, call me Big Boss.
Recall Eva's recording. In it, she said the boss wanted to be remembered as a woman, not as a soldier. Here, Naked Snake feels intense betrayal from the Joy throwing down her gun and abandoning her ideals as a soldier, even though it seems to be what she wanted all along. Only when Snake fully dismisses any ideas of peace does he finally accept his title of boss. Sometime later, this super hot splooge depository terrorist bitch reveals she's been working for Zero this whole time, who has been betraying Big Boss this whole time. Splooge terrorist hijacks a nuclear-equipped mech and tries to Chernobyl the United States, thus edging her dangerously close to the wrong side of the crazy hot scale. Just Look at those crazy eyes! Her dramatic speech oozes with insanity, making clear that the boss was once like a mother to both Zero and Naked Snake, each interpreting the will of the boss differently. Zero, now known as Cypher, aims to create a world without borders, whereas Naked Snake aims to create a world where soldiers choose their own battles, not controlled by politics. Both do so in the name of the boss. These two friends are now enemies, ironically pitted against one another by politics they themselves created. Their first battle takes place with this insanely hot, insanely insane lady, who gets blown up by Big Boss to a pumpin' soundtrack of Japanese rock. And at the very end of Peace Walker, Big Boss talks to his chief deputy about what the future holds. These two and their army are now a valuable military force in a world soon to be run by war thanks to the Cold War's inevitable ending and Zero's all-controlling, world-unifying AI. Power is now a tool for Big Boss to wield. With that knowledge, he puffs his cigar and orders his chief deputy to rally the men. As the months roll on, Big Boss falls into the allure of power, tasting battle as a sweet elixir for the pain he's been through. He and his chief deputy guy continue building their army towards its full potential, recruiting ever more soldiers in a world where war is a business. Boss's army is free to follow its own will, a private group of soldiers at the mercy of no government. Yet as the mercenary group grows more powerful, a bomb explodes just yards away from a helicopter containing Big Boss, knocking him into a coma for 9 years. When he awakens, his private army has been disbanded and he's missing an arm. His immediate actions take place in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, which, as of the release of this video, isn't out yet. So we'll skip to the year 1999, where Big Boss really goes apeshit. The world is in a peacetime, no war, no violence, simply a nice time to be alive. But Boss cannot stop drinking his elixir of war, and so he creates a nation by force, Zanzibar Land. From it, he threatens to use the nuclear warheads he stole. Among his soldiers are war orphans, child soldiers who fight for him because they're easily manipulated. Boss even admits these war orphans kill off more parents to feed more orphans into his war machine. He plunges the entire world, including children, into war simply to feel the vigor of battle. Boss has inevitably become a cold-hearted bastard, but not an invincible bastard. For Solid Snake and friends take down his organization and supposedly kill Big Boss in the process. I don't have time to go into detail about Solid Snake. Just know that he's important and a clone from Big Boss's DNA, created by Zero in order to mold the perfect commander. In the following years, the world plunges into conflict thanks to Zero's master plan. His organization is called the Patriots, where an AI controls the United States, including the economy and the trends. The American people are unknowingly controlled by a single will. Military prowess becomes valued over love and kindness. Genetically modified super soldiers are the new norm. A war economy. A market where demand for soldiers with guns is higher than anything else. But towards the end of it all, Solid Snake finds himself in a graveyard being greeted by none other than Big Boss, thought dead long ago. Many years have passed since Boss's supposed death, and somewhere during that time, our anti-hero reconsidered the ideals he'd built his violent life around. He's dying from a foxdie virus, which means he has just minutes to live. With the time he has left, he gives Solid Snake some solid advice.
It's about respecting the will of others and believing in your own.
With that, the elusive meaning of the boss's legacy has finally been understood by none other than a man who helped destroy all semblance of peace in the world. The Joy wanted to be remembered as a woman rather than a soldier because she valued peace above all else. She couldn't put her legacy into words because the world stage was too complex to solve during her short life. And so she left behind a disjointed set of ideas stretched between those closest to her. These ideas were ambiguous, conflicting, and open to interpretation. As the years rolled by, the minds of evil men distorted the boss's ambiguous ideas and molded them to fit their own selfish desires for violence and world domination. This includes Big Boss himself, for after so much exposure to violence, loss, and regret, he began to see an opportunity for liberty, for a world where he and his soldiers bent to nobody's will. But Zero did not see it that way. He wanted a unified world completely controlled by one entity, one organization, a world without borders. Following this dispute, Zero's Patriots, who Big Boss also helped start, but we don't have time to go into that, spiraled into chaos, holding the world hostage with constant war, while Big Boss tried to build his own private army and nearly died doing it. When the decades had passed, the world had been torn to pieces, and all that was left of the Patriots were a decrepit Zero and a dying Big Boss, standing just yards away from the grave of the woman who never wanted this to happen. But once the Patriots' evil returns to Zero, once they're all dead, the world can start anew without the oppressive control of these all-powerful Patriots. This is the turning point when Big Boss finally surpasses the boss. After a lifetime of causing pain, of fighting for the hell of it because it was all he knew, Big Boss has his revelation. And now, with the imminent deaths of Big Boss and Zero, the world's largest evil will return to Zero and leave behind a blank slate. On that empty canvas, our anti-hero shall paint the final legacy of the Joy, a set of words he spent a lifetime piecing together at the expense of civilization itself. In the process of this learning experience, Big Boss and Zero inadvertently brought the world to its knees with a war-based economy, child soldiers, and a looming threat of nuclear destruction. Totally worth it, because from the ashes of this worldwide clusterfuck can rise a new beginning that starts with a single idea: that all people should live by their own free will, while respecting the will of others. That's where Big Boss went wrong. He wanted a world where a soldier could choose their own path. And in doing so, he destroyed the paths of so many others. The boss wanted a world where a person could choose their own path, not a soldier, and that requires everyone to peacefully respect the wants of others. Yes indeed, Big Boss is the Lorax! Well, more of a co-Lorax, with Zero. They gouged the world of its truffula trees for their own selfish greed. Only at the end of Big Boss's life did he realize the error of his ways, passing the seed of knowledge to Solid Snake so that perhaps the world could once again be filled with truffula trees. Freedom. Freedom for everyone to live by their own free will. Metaphors and stuff. Speaking of which, in his final moments, Big Boss asks Solid to do him a solid and help him to the boss's grave. He leans up against it, pulls out a cigar, and together, the two unlikely allies share one last smoke. This time in a cemetery overgrown with the same flowers that surrounded Jack as he pulled the trigger on the boss. Building off of that symbolism, we can come even more full circle. We see Naked Snake's earliest self toking a cigar in a plane with limited air against the orders of Zero himself. After succumbing to his demands, Snake stops smoking and crushes the cigar. From that point, Jack's life begins its downward spiral, occasionally toking when he feels his free will most. Big Boss, Naked Snake, Jack, John! All the same man tormented by the regret of killing his beloved mentor, unknowably twisting her legacy and himself into a monstrous ideology that threatened the world. But at the end of the day, all he really needed, all he really wanted, was something that took him an entire lifetime to find. Freedom. And that's the story. You never knew. Hit the lights.